St. Lucie Public Schools, with the assistance of the Roundtable of St. Lucie County, is a Kids at Hope district where we believe that all children are capable of success, no exceptions. Hello, and welcome to The Power of Hope. The Power of Hope is a show dedicated at discussing Kids at Hope in St. Lucie County. Kids at Hope is an international initiative that has been brought to the area by the Roundtable of St. Lucie County and funded by the United Way, the Roy A. Hunt Foundation, and the Children's Services Council of St. Lucie County. Kids at Hope is not a program. It is a strategic cultural framework based on three basic principles and beliefs. We believe, we connect, and we time travel. I am treasure hunter Jared Stevens, Kids at Hope School Community Liaison, as well as your host for the show, and I would like to thank you for tuning in to today's episode of The Power of Hope. We would encourage you to tune in to every episode this season as we discuss building a culture of hope to ensure that all children are capable of success, no exceptions. Now, you may be asking yourself, why did he refer to himself as a treasure hunter? Well, as an adult and a treasure hunter, I am committed to search for all the talents, skills, and intelligence that exist in all children and youth. I believe that all children are capable of success, no exceptions. Now, Kids at Hope has three universal truths, with universal truth number one being children succeed when they are surrounded by adults who believe they can succeed. We are fortunate today to have with us a guest, a fellow treasure hunter, who I know believes in children and is doing everything in her power to ensure that all of the children in St. Lucie Public Schools are surrounded by adults who believe they can succeed. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Miss Debbie Holly, the St. Lucie Public Schools School Board Chairman. Ms. Holly, thank you for joining us on today's show.
Thank you for the invitation, Jared. It's really a delight to be here with you.
All right, no problem. The pleasure is all ours.
Thank you.
And we are glad to have you with us as we will be discussing building a culture of hope to ensure the success of all of our children.
Wonderful.
For our viewers that don't know your extensive history in the school system, could you please tell us of what you were doing prior to your current position as chairman?
Sure, be happy to. Well, I'm a fourth-generation resident of St. Lucie County to begin with, so the community is near and dear to me. And as I came through schools, graduated, had my own family, my own children, education took on more and more prominence in my life. So as my children were in school, I used that opportunity to be homeroom mom and be invested in PTOs and SAC committees and DAC committees and all of those things that have to do with education here in our county, because I really, really wanted the education to be there for all students, and that they would want to make this, they would want to become third and fourth and fifth generations of St. Lucie County residents. So I invested myself in a lot of those areas. One of the ones that I'm most proud of, talking about Kids at Hope especially, is I was appointed by the governor in the year 2000 to be an educational surrogate for students in our schools. And what that means is that they don't have a parent or a caregiver who understands the school system and all of the intricacies of that well enough to speak on their behalf if they have a disability or that type thing. So I really enjoyed, I probably was the surrogate for 40 or 50 students over the course of the years, and met with all of their teams and different schools. So that enabled me to develop really good relationships with a lot of our school folks and district folks as well. But it just became a way of life for me, you know, to be invested. And it wasn't always schools that my children attended, but any of the schools in the county that wanted help with their school advisory councils or PTOs, or to bring in some social skills trainings. I'm a mental health counselor by career. So I was able to implement some of those things for our schools as well.
Well, working in the schools and volunteering in the schools for 20 plus years, There's a lot of work that you have done, and obviously this amount of time that we have on our show, you couldn't possibly cover everything you've done. But there's one program in particular that we spoke about, which was the Second Step program.
Right.
Could you tell our audience a little bit about that?
Sure. Second Step is a curriculum that is based on social skills, learning social skills, how to get along in the world, how to get along with one another, learning that sharing is a good thing. A lot of those precepts, and it's based over a period of anywhere from 8 weeks to 16 weeks. And I would go into the classrooms with the curriculum, and we do a lot of role playing. You know, let's say you kicked my bike over and that upset me. Well, how do you react to that? And it should not be with your fist drawn back and ready to physically take care of it, but how do you interact with one another and those kinds of things. So it's specific for each grade level. In other words, what a kindergartner would look at during our social skills time is different from what an 8th grader would look at. It's very time oriented to where you are in the academic process. So it really was a very engaging and helpful tool. It took a little bit of time to get the philosophy with principals and teachers that allowing that 20 minutes for social skills, you know, I should be concentrating on the reading or the math or this or that. And my precept was, this 30 minutes once a week, your return is going to be in hours, because you don't have to stop your classroom instruction and redirect behavior. Children see there are alternatives to that misbehavior. So the classrooms that I was in, teachers and principals became real believers, and year after year was, can you come back and do our 5th grade this year, or will you come back and do our kindergartners, or that kind of thing. And our goal was to touch every kindergarten classroom as they came in and build upon it, so that it would be an innate part of their day by the time they reached middle school.
And that's a great thing, and our students really need to learn how to handle different situations that come about.
Indeed.
So by doing the different scenarios and teaching them, okay, well, you do have options in handling this situation. Exactly. It helps them for when they do face those situations or similar situations. Now, you mentioned that 3rd or 4th generation St. Lucie County, and you have children as well.
Right.
Your children came up through the public schools?
Yes, indeed they did.
And what schools did they attend?
I have 2 sons, and they attended Lawnwood Elementary, and then they attended middle and high school at Lincoln Park Academy.
Okay.
My youngest graduated in '08 and the oldest in '05, so they've been out of the system, so to speak, for quite a while. But I didn't graduate when they did. I chose to stay in and to be active in the educational system here.
Well, working with kids will keep you along.
Yes,
keep
it
you
will.
around.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
Now, the St. Lucie County School Board, you're responsible for setting policies and rules in regards to administration across the board for the schools, correct?
That's correct.
That is an enormous responsibility.
It is enormous, and our policy manual is, I kid you not, probably 5 inches thick. A lot of attention has to be given to that, because legislatively there are changes every year that we have to go back and change our policy so that we're in line with legislative changes and that sort of thing. So it is an ongoing process all of the time to go through, but policies cover every aspect of the public school system.
Okay.
Every aspect.
And with a policy book that big, that's why it's important to have key individuals in place, you know, not only yourself but the other board members in place that can help with the responsibility.
Yes.
And you can use a wide spectrum of the knowledge across the board to make good decisions.
Indeed, because as you said, it is the entire spectrum.
Right.
Administration, curriculum, auxiliary services, everything falls under the auspices of policies. Yes.
So now, with that being said, why did you want to become a part of the school board?
Well, I felt that with my years and years of experience, and really diverse experience, that it was time to take it to the next level. And on a personal level, as my children were in school, it was always, Mom, we don't want you to do that, you know, we don't want you to be on the school board. But it was always a dream and a passion of mine to do that, to go to that next level. So when my youngest graduated in '08, I began to shift my thought process a bit. Well, maybe now is time to go to that next level and to have an impact with policy and legislatively. I had many trips to Tallahassee as a parent lobbying for our school system, but to go with the clout of being an elected official, I felt like the time was right.
Well, one thing that you said chimes in perfectly with Kids at Hope. Even though you were an adult, you were a kid at Hope, because you said you had dreams to become a member of the school board. So you were actually what we call mental time traveling.
Exactly.
And part of the Kids at Hope pledge is I have dreams for the future, and I will climb to reach those goals and dreams every day. And that's exactly what you did as an adult.
And the other thing I had with that, Jarrett, the other component is that I had other adults believing in me and telling me, yes, you should do this. You can do this. Don't let anything stop you. So it really matters not our age. When we have that hope support system, it really does impact us.
You're right. So now let me ask this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Well, let me say this and correct me if I'm wrong. Now, the process for a person to become a member of the school board is they are elected by the public.
That's correct.
And then you are elected by the public as a school board member.
That's correct.
Now, once the school board has been formed, then the members on the school board actually have an election amongst themselves or vote amongst themselves for specific positions within the school board. Is that correct?
That's correct, Jared, yes. We are elected as a whole, although we technically represent districts. There are 5 districts in the county, but we are elected county-wide to our positions, which is a 4-year term, as you mentioned. And then in November of every year, there is a organization or reorganization of the officers of the board. And every 2 years, either 2 members or 3 members are sworn back in, or new members have been elected and are sworn in. But in November, after that occurs, then we have elections amongst ourselves for the position of chair and vice chair.
Okay, so now as a position or as a member, any member on the school board, is that a full-time or a part-time position?
Well, that really depends.
Technically,
In my eyes, it's a full-time position.
Okay, on paper?
On paper, the perception is that it is not.
Okay.
That, you know, we have 2 meetings a month, and what else do we do?
Right.
Which is a very erroneous perception. When I first ran for school board, it was my pledge to this community that it would be my full-time job, and I have made it such. So I easily invest 40 to 50 hours a week doing school board related business. I'm fortunate in the respect that I have a private practice in professional counseling, and so I'm able to schedule those clients at times that don't interfere with my school board work, which is usually later into the evenings or weekends kind of thing. But there's enough work as a school board member for it to be a full-time position. And as I said, I'm very fortunate that I can do that. Now, not everyone has that ability, and certain different ones see it in different ways. If you ask anybody that serves in an elected position like that, they may have a different definition of how many hours that means, you know, to serve. But
okay, so now take us through your journey with the school board. You were elected in 2010.
Correct.
As a member.
As a member, that's correct.
In 2010, you were not the chairman.
No, I was not.
Okay, so how did, take us through that evolution.
Okay, I was elected in November of 2010 and sworn in that 3rd meeting in the month of November. And the organization took place for the next year, and of course, being very new on that position, there was not consideration, you know. So we had a chairman and a vice chairman elected to serve that year. The next November, when it was time for elections to happen amongst ourselves, the vice chairman moved into the chair position, and I was nominated to be vice chair. So I served a year as vice chair, and then the next November, I moved into the chairmanship position, and a new vice chair was elected. This past November, I was re-elected to the chairmanship position. We were in a state of a lot of different things going on. We were in a superintendent search and just multiple areas of going on. And the feeling of continuity was important to our community to stay. So I have been very fortunate and delighted and blessed to be serving 2 years as chairperson of our school board.
So the expiration date on your position, on your being a member of the school board is 2014. Well, in 2014, November in 2014, you will actually have to run again to become a member again.
That's
Is that correct?
That's correct. It's a 4-year term. So this is the year. There are 3 on the school board that are up for re-election this year. All 3 incumbents have filed to run again. But there will be an election in November for the community-wide to vote on those 3 positions. And then we'll proceed from there.
Well, I think that's great. I think you, as well as everyone else on the board, are doing a great job.
Oh, thank you, Jared.
So now let's talk about this. How did you first hear about Kids at Hope?
Well, it was in one of my ventures in the schools, and when I heard the concept of Kids at Hope, it just really perked my attention because it's what I believe as a human being. And Christine Epps brought it forth from Roundtable and talking to school officials, and Mike Lannon was our superintendent at that time, and he bought into it totally and completely, sent folks to Arizona to be trained and all of that. But it just became, I became a real cheerleader for it because it just seems, it's so logical to me, you know, that we have to believe in our kids and provide them opportunities. So I was on the bandwagon as well and became trained, treasure hunter as well,
Okay.
all of those things. And I've even gone back and been retrained just to stay fresh with it, you know, and to interact with other folks that are being trained so that I have a relationship with them. Because we'll obviously meet up at places in our community when we're doing Kids at Hope events. So.
Okay, now, obviously you said it seems seamless for you to be a believer and a supporter of Kids at Hope because with somebody that has worked in the school system as a volunteer for as many years that you did, basically giving free service for as many years that you did, obviously you believe in children and you believe that all of them are capable of success.
I do. I do, and they are.
So now let me ask you this. Outside of what we spoke about previously with the Second Step program and your volunteering in the schools and your private practice of mental health, what is your other involvement with children? Or what has been, or what currently is your involvement with children?
Some of both. I have been involved with Big Brothers Big Sisters for years and years. I provide services to them in group and individual settings as far as more of that get-along ability kind of thing. So I do that. I was a board member on New Horizons when they raised the money to rebuild the Children's Crisis Center, which was very important to me because oftentimes my clients would end up being transported to Palm Beach County because we didn't have a facility here that could house them when they were Baker acted or in need of overnight or long-term even inpatient care. So that was a real involving piece for me that I had a lot of personal interest in because the need in St. Lucie County is great, and we just didn't logistically have the facilities to handle it. But now we do. We have the 25 beds that solely for children and youth that find themselves in that predicament, or families that find themselves in need of those services. I also work with the Boys and Girls Club through some of their aftercare places at schools and their unit houses and that sort of thing. And just any place there's children, you're probably going to find me there. Yes.
At some point or another,
At some point or another, indeed.
And that's great. And all the organizations that you spoke on, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Boys and Girls Club, New Horizons, all of them are very intricate pieces to the success of our community.
Indeed.
For the involvement that they do have with children.
Indeed.
And all 3 organizations have shown that they are here for our children.
Indeed.
Okay,
Yes.
so now, staying on the Kids at Hope topic, what is your vision for Kids at Hope in St. Lucie Public Schools moving into the future?
Well, as I mentioned, Kids at Hope actually formulated here in St. Lucie County and became part of the philosophy before I was even elected to the board. But after I was elected, there was more of a push to let's take the Kids at Hope, to the next level as well. We've walked it and we've talked it in our community, but let's really put some teeth into it. So a committee was formed, which you were on, I was on, several other people, to develop a 5-year plan for Kids at Hope. And how do we move forward? What are our plans for the future? And part of that was being able to hire a person in the position you hold now that could be a community as well as a school liaison for that. So my vision is we're in year 1 of that 5-year plan. We're about to complete it. We have 100% completed everything we envisioned for year 1 on that plan. We still have 4 years in the plan, and we're going to accomplish that goal. We're going to get through. In May of 2018, we're going to be able to look at that 5-year plan and say, yes, we accomplished that, and we did more. I don't see it ending in May of 2018. It's a constant evolution. We'll have new children in our schools. We'll have new staff people in our schools. There's going to be an ongoing need to keep those staff people trained, to keep mentors for those children, to keep believing in them so that they have every opportunity for success as well. So it's not, when you say a 5-year plan, I don't want anyone to think that, okay, that's one of those things that'll be gone when the 5 years is up. Because as a board, we have adopted the Kids at Hope belief. We say the Kids at Hope pledge before every board meeting. It's just like the Pledge of Allegiance. We say it, and we say it with meaning and belief behind it. So moving forward, I see nothing but positive and more people becoming involved, not only in our school system but in our community as well.
And that's great that you said that. So 2 points that I take from what you just said, and correct me if I'm wrong. The 5-year plan is the short-term plan.
That's exactly right, Jared.
And we want to look further than that.
Exactly.
Because like you said, things are constantly changing. Kids are coming in, adults are changing and rolling over. Yeah. So you have new innovation, new research, new tools that can be utilized, all of those great things.
The neat thing about the 5-year plan is that at the end of that 5 years, every student in the schools at that time will have been exposed to the Kids at Hope belief. But every employee of the St. Lucie County School District will have been trained in Kids at Hope. That's why it's really kind of taking the 5 years, because we have so many components, including bus drivers, cafeteria workers, teachers, administrators. Everyone that is employed by the St. Lucie County School District will have been trained in Kids at Hope at the end of that 5 years. And then it will just become a matter of everyone new coming in will be trained as they come in.
Well, it takes a village to raise a child.
Indeed.
And part of that village, like you said, is the importance of the community. So we will always want to make sure that we keep the community involved, and Kids at Hope is strong in the community. So we are engulfing our children in belief,
yes, we are.
Which is doing nothing but building the strength in hope. Exactly. And hope is a powerful thing.
It is indeed.
So speaking of that, can you discuss some of the research that you've done on when the success children have when they actually believe in themselves?
Right. Well, actually, the research in hope has been ongoing for over 20 years. I closely follow the research that the National Association for Professional Counselors and School Counselors embodies in their work. And the really profound thing that has come from that research is children, even as early as their infancy, begin to instill the mechanisms for hope. It's never too early to begin to instill that thought, that belief in hope. So naturally that means that parents are the first venue to help instill that hope in their children. And how do you do that? Well, it's by the way they communicate with others in their family, by the way they communicate with the child. It's how they handle problems as they come along. It's all of the things that you don't really sit down and talk about, but you watch because it's being modeled for you. So as early as infancy, hope can be instilled in children. And then the next component of that, when they reach school age, as instructional leaders, we're in a really, really fabulous position to continue that and to continue to instill hope with them, but on a different level. Teachers can say to their students, I believe in you. I know you can do this. And when you say that to a student, they're going to come to school because they're being affirmed. They're going to have better success in their academic work. Does it make them all straight A students? No. But it does make them reach for and strive their fullest potential. And they're going to be healthier overall, wellness-wise, because there's something about hope that makes you happy and gives you that sense of, I want to take care of myself. I want to please these adults that are instilling in me that they believe in me. That's powerful. That's powerful. Even beyond children, for us to affirm to one another, I believe in what you're doing, Jared. It's making a difference. Well, that instills in you that desire to keep going, to stay motivated, and to stretch your goals and dreams to get bigger and bigger and take you further and further.
And I agree with everything that you just said. Now, unfortunately, we're getting towards the end, but I would like to just hear your thoughts on the importance, and you kind of touched on it, but the importance of positive relationships between adults and our children. The really neat thing about hope is that it's malleable, and that means that even if you're hopeless feeling right now, that can change. Someone, an adult, can come into your life and change that feeling for you by expressing and believing in you and expressing the belief that you will succeed, giving them the tools, the affirmation to move forward. So it's important for this community, for all adults, to become invested and involved in a child's life. It only takes one adult in a child's life to make a huge, huge difference, to take that sense of hopelessness away. And in our community in particular, there is a sense of hopelessness in a lot of our families, but it can change. They can learn to have hope. Hope's not a wish. I don't wish for it. Hope is a belief. And when you believe in something, you know you're going to make a change, you're going to make a difference, and it's going to get better. I would like to thank you for joining us on today's episode of The Power of Hope. And remember, hope keeps motivation alive longer than anything else. Having optimism permits evolution, and all children are capable of success, no exceptions. I am treasure hunter Jared Stevens, your host for the show, and I thank you for joining us.